All right. It's fairly late in the evening, and long past time to show up, but I'm showing up. I'm glad you showed up. I appreciate every single one of you, and do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. I have spent most of the day fucking around with brush settings in Clip Studio Paint, and the main thing that I'm doing is I'm trying to build something that I can use to effectively do portraits, because I'm bad at portraits and I'm trying to improve at them. And one of the things that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to use like the bark plates and that sort. Well, I have the bark plates, and because I have the physical book, I feel like it's okay once you have the physical book to go and download the PDF of the same book. I feel like that's okay. I feel like you should be allowed to do that. So there's this thing that they do where you draw these things, you draw these plates over and over again until you're very, very good at them, until you can do them perfectly time after time after time. And that's supposed to make you good at drawing people and at drawing anatomy, and you're supposed to kind of internalize all this stuff just by analyzing your work of doing the same thing over and over. And I kind of stare at this and think about doing that. But then I don't, because, let's be clear about it. It's not... God, the Kindle app is such a pain in the butt trying to figure out how to make it work effectively. There we go. But I think about it. I think about going through the bark plates, or the barg plates, and working on them and trying to improve my work that way. But that improves realism, of course, and I'm not sure that's really the direction that I want to spend a lot of my time on, you know? I am doing kind of realistic stuff. I want to do a buttload of fan art of Huangla because nobody else is doing it. But I'm not sure whether I want it to be photorealistic. I don't know if I even want to try to do photorealistic stuff. And I just I wrestle with that. I wrestle with that as sort of the question of what is important, what should you be doing, what's the most meaningful way to proceed. And you can really paralyze yourself doing that. You can really kind of train yourself to just sit there and go, there's like 8 different ways I could train myself to do the thing that I want to do. Well, I should learn more about all 8 of those ways so that I can pick one. And that's not how you make decisions. The way you make decisions is you go, okay, here are my choices. Which ones are obviously wrong? And you take the ones that are obviously wrong, like the things you definitely don't want to do, and you throw them out. And then you take the ones that are left, and you go, well, which one of these should I choose? If you still can't choose, you need more information. But if you can't get more information, if the information's not available, or it's too expensive, or it would take too long, or whatever, or you just don't feel like it, then you should just choose arbitrarily. And usually I'm fairly good at that, but in this particular case, I'm not being very good at that. But the good news is that playing around with the TourBox has given me a lot of insight into various cool things that I can do. And one of the things that I've done is, if you're familiar at all with my little brush set, I have this fairly basic brush that's designed to imitate a horsehair paintbrush. Okay, it's very light. You can press lightly and you get very thin lines, but when you press harder, you get thicker lines. And it kind of does that sweep in and sweep out thing. This is easier to see if we make it larger. So you can get fairly thin. I mean, you can see how big that circle is on the screen. You can see how big the circle is, and yet when I make the lines, they're very thin. But if I bear down, I can get that big, bold line. I can get this big thing. But I can also get just these little lines. And if I make it smaller, and I typically keep it down around 8, I can get very fine lines indeed, while still being able to get nice, bold lines. And I've been putting that all over this layer where I shouldn't have been putting it because it's in the way of everything. Sometimes I do stupid things on account of the eye. But let me go ahead and make a new layer and turn off the clip. That's one of the things that I've done, is I've given myself the ability to double-click one button to create a new vector layer, and to double-click another button to create a new vector layer. And so I can create a vector layer or a raster layer at will, and then I can turn on clipping to the layer under it or turn it off. I can also turn on protection for the transparent areas, which it won't let you do if there's nothing on it. But I can lock the transparent pixels, at least I should be able to. Apparently you can't do that on vector layers. But you can do it on raster layers. Now I can't draw on this layer at all, but I can turn that off, and I can go right over top of it, whereas once I've turned it on, it's still just the transparent pixels. I can go over top of it and change the look of it. I've been debating whether I want to do a lock layer entirely shortcut, but the lock transparent pixels is working fairly well for me. So I'm thinking maybe I just stay with that. And I've also got the clip to layer below, unclip from layer below, and all of that sort of thing. And I've got a double-click delete on the top button. I've also got scrolling layers, so I can scroll among layers with the top button and the scroll bar. And when I reach the layer that I'm looking for, I can click the side button to turn it on and off. So if I'm going along and I go, oh, well, I've been drawing on this layer, layer 1, and I want that out of the way, but I don't want to delete it. So I can just click the side button and it goes away. It's gone, and then I can bring it back, and everything's cool. Or I can scroll down to the reference folder and I can go, you know what, turn that off. Turn off the reference and just show me what I've been doing on top of it. And I've been kind of working on top of this with the brush. But here's the fun thing that I've been working with is if you look over here at the brush parameters, you can see that as I turn this little knob, that changes the brush size, but if I hold down this button and turn the knob, it turns down the density. If I hold down the other button, then it turns down the opacity, and I can also use the scroll button to change the hardness. So I've got all of these parameters of the brush just immediately available to me. So I could sit here and I can go, okay, yeah, I'm going to paint on this layer, and I'm going to, well, let's start off. Let's turn that one off. Let's come back to this one. I'm going to paint on this layer, and you know what? Actually, I want that brush to be a very soft brush. I want it to have a very soft edge. So let's turn that down to a soft edge. Okay, there we go. But you know what? That's too opaque. What I want to do is I want to turn the opacity down to like maybe 30. So I just want to get something like that, something that's kind of soft with a low opacity. And get something like that. Or instead of the opacity, I can work with the brush density. I can turn the brush density down to 30. And then I can have that. And then when I go over and over the same location, because this is kind of the difference between brush density and opacity. When you've got your brush density down to 30, okay, you're getting these lines. Whereas if you've got the brush density all the way up and you turn the opacity down to 30, you get fairly similar lines, but the brush density actually comes out stronger. And you'll also find that if you go over and over and over your opacity, it just stays at 30. You can go over it again to make it darker, but you have to use individual strokes. You can't just go back and forth. It'll stay the way that it is. Whereas when you're working with brush density, we come down to 30. Going over and over it, in fact, let's turn it down all the way down to 1. If you turn it all the way down to 1, you barely get anything, but as you go back and forth over it, it builds up, kind of like a pencil. I've actually set my pencil brushes to do this. And there's functionally no difference between going back and forth over the same area. Like if I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it gives me about the same result. Because when I scrub back and forth, it's giving me the same results as going back and forth over it with multiple strokes. So I can choose to either build up my stroke by going back and forth over it by kind of scribbling, or I could do the fuzzy line thing that everybody tells you not to do. Notice that when I do the fuzzy line thing, if I go down to like this very small, doing the fuzzy line thing, the kind of chicken scratch method that everybody tells you not to do, when you zoom in on that, that actually looks fine. That actually looks pretty good. It's certainly not like final line art quality, but as you do that sort of you do that chicken scratch thing, and you end up with a line that doesn't look awful, that actually makes a fairly decent basis that you can go into and go, well, okay, now let's turn our brush density all the way up and let's just finalize that line. And you can make that line what it's supposed to be. And now you've got this nice clean line art on top of the scratchy one. And that's kind of the sort of thing that I need to be, it's what you're supposed to be doing with sketches and line art. And I just like never do it because I'm a dumbass and I suck. But I have been playing around with these settings a lot. And one of the things that I found is that being able to just kind of change these things around. You know, I think the hardness actually needs to be on a different, I think I need to put it on the other, I need to put it on the other key. So let's see here. My TourBox console, and we're going to come in here, and I'm going to show you this in real time to actually see what this looks like. And I'm going to come down here and go, okay, we're looking at the scroll wheel, and the scroll wheel, we've got reduce hardness, increase hardness. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check here, rotation speed fast, haptic strong. Okay, so those are set properly. And what I want to do here is I want to come down, I want to go increase hardness. So I come down and find it. increase hardness. Yep, that's what I want. And then over here, I want reduce hardness. I can't grab and move the scroll bar. I have to just scroll. And over here, we want reduce hardness right there. Okay. And then this one, I'm just going to go, nope, let's turn that off. All right. And there we go. So now I've got increasing and reducing hardness on a different. Now I've got nothing on this, which means that it just scrolls back and forth. I have managed to train myself not to press that button when I'm scrolling, and that's been neat. That's been kind of interesting and fun to have available. So I've got the hardness and the brush density, and I kind of use these a lot now because I like them. I like the way they fit together. So that works nicely. And then I could just turn it up and go, okay, there we go. That's the line that I want. And I like that kind of the ability to mess with the settings as I'm working is very useful. And that's given me so many options with this. But one of the things you'll find is if you come up here to the pencil, you'll see that I have the brush density controlled by how hard you press on the pen. So I have it controlled by pressure, so I can just kind of lightly bring in this line, or I can just do a bold line. I can just go, yes, that's it. That's what I want. And I want to do that right there. I want to get that in place. I want to kind of go right in this space right here. And then that pressure sensitive bit. But this doesn't have the size jitter on. It doesn't have velocity controlled size. So there's no way that I can get this to go bigger, which is what you want sometimes. And that's kind of what I wanted for my sketching pencil, is just to use a light touch and just kind of rough in. Okay, here's the thing that I want, but I don't want this to get larger as I press. I want it to just be bolder and stronger. Yeah, that's about it. This is where I want things to be, so right there. And that's kind of the direction that I wanted to take things with that. And I got the same thing over here. I've got this soft pencil over on this area. And the soft pencil has a much stronger density profile, but at the same time, it's got a much lower density. So that does need you to go over it several times. If I put it on 30, just like I had the last one, then you could see that at a low size like 8, you can see that it rapidly gets very dark. It doesn't start out very light at all. It actually gets dark really fast. Because that's the difference that I have between the hard pencil and the soft pencil and the horsehair and the wolf hair is the velocity curve on it. The velocity curve on both of these is fairly stiff for the horsehair, or well, it's fairly soft for the wolf hair, and it's fairly hard or fairly stiff for the horsehair. You know, there's a more gradual curve on it. It's not as dramatic as the wolf hair. And in the same way, I've got the same kind of profile on the soft pencil and the hard pencil. And I've been thinking about doing a kind of opacity-based thing, but I'm not sure what to call that. maybe the hard pencil and soft pencil need to be pen, and then I don't know. But that's kind of a direction that I'm working with. And then I've got some special purpose brushes that I just kind of threw together. But really, the horsehair and the wolf hair, those are my go-to. And then I've got the soft airbrush and the basic pen on here, just so that I have those basic ones. But yeah, I've been playing around with that a lot, and I haven't really. I don't know. I mean, they've kind of helped with some stuff. Like, I feel like the line art on this is decent, and if you turn off the reference, you can see that I've been doing some shading work over here, and I'm really kind of trying to internalize the structure of face as well, of this particular face, because I want to do a bunch of fan art of this one character. That's something I've had heavily recommended. It was Kim Hu on Blue Sky who said that if you want to get really, really good at drawing, what you want to do is you want to find one thing that you really, really want to draw a lot of. Preferably something that you really like, that nobody else is drawing, and then you just take that one thing and you just do that thing over and over and over, and you get good at that one thing. And, you know, they said to pick a character. And I think I'm the only person that has the fixation on Huang Le that I have, because, you know, people will laugh at me and point at my 300 plus pictures in photo mode, but I've never had anybody go, yeah, me too, man. It's not like the Polish chick, the Maria, what's her name, over at Galbank, you know, or the number of people with their crush on Andreja. Yeah, I get it. I get that people have a crush on Andreja, but I don't know. I like Huang Le. That's me. I don't really have anything meaningful to say tonight. I don't think. It's been a long day, and I've had trouble thinking of anything to talk about. So I don't know. That's where things are. That's how things are. And I do appreciate every single one of you that came by to hang out and watch me ramble for 20 odd minutes about nothing at all. So, yeah, do the little YouTube dance. Like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. And, okay, bye.